Welcome to the Weekly Roar, coming live from the Lion's Den, helping new managers become great leaders and awesome bosses. And now, here's your host, Greg Storch.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Lion's Den. This is the Weekly Roar! We're continuing to recap the lessons learned in leadership 2 at a time from my latest series, Lessons Learned in Leadership, on this final day of June. And we're coming down to the final 2 episodes of these recaps. And then it's on to new topics in the Weekly Roar. Now, since that previous series started well over 7 months ago, I wanted to go back over the lessons learned in more of a Reader's Digest fashion and bring back the highlights for you to keep those lessons fresh in your mind. So this week, we're rewinding the clock again, and we're going back to March of this year to give you the highlights from lessons 23 and 24. Now, before we jump into that, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Greg Storch. I'm the owner of Lion Enterprise, host of the Weekly Roar, and the founder of a worldwide bartered coaching program called The Helping Hand. I'm a certified professional leadership coach and a certified leadership speaker and trainer. And as a friendly reminder, you can find all of my video resources on my website at lion-enterprise.com. Just look for the Lion's Pride Library and you can check them all out. All right, it's time to get started with the recap of lesson number 23. And I called that one Players Change Throughout the Game. Now, that lesson was really about having a reality check about our journey and how those who start out with us, they may not always end up with us in the end. Now, I shared the story of my own journey that began when I was 17 years old. Straight out of high school, I headed to San Diego for boot camp. And for 3.5 decades, I've experienced things and realized a lot of accomplishments that have all brought me to where I am today. We've all done that. If you look back at your own journey, I'm sure there are significant milestones that you reached along the way. And just like me, you have probably met people from all walks of life and forged personal and professional relationships with those people. See, I believe that everyone is placed in my path for a purpose. There's a reason and there's also a season. And while some people have continued my journey with me, others have come and gone. The fact is, not all who start the journey with us finish with us. Now, I used the example of the commanding officer of Navy ships to stress my point. In the Navy, the ship's crew is constantly changing. Even though they have a mission to achieve, they have to accomplish it with those they have at the time. What you'll never see is the ship's captain trying to keep all of their crew members on that ship. They don't stop them from coming and going. Well, they can't, but that's the same with our teams and our leadership. Some of our team members will get off the ship along the way, and when it's time for the ship to leave port again, or for us to continue on our journey, the leader can't go running after those crew members and put them back on the ship. They have to keep moving forward with the crew that they have at that time. So with that said, during that Weekly Roar, I shared some lessons learned about a leader's journey that I want to bring back up today. Now, the first thing I want to remind you about is that not everyone's going to take that journey with you, and that's okay. We all have choices, and being part of a team is one of them. Some people may not want to go where you're headed. Maybe they don't share in your vision. There are plenty of reasons why someone might make the choice not to join your journey. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's the others on the team. or maybe they just aren't headed in that direction at that point in time in their lives. The sooner a leader realizes that not everyone will take the journey with them, the easier it becomes to choose the right team members. The second thing that I want to remind you about is that not everyone should take the journey with you. Personally, I have a tendency to want to share my success with friends and colleagues so that they can enjoy success with me. But a friendship isn't the best reason to place someone on your team. You have to make sure you're selecting the right people with the right skills and placing them in the right seat on the bus, so to speak. Anytime a leader ignores reality for the sake of the relationship, they're going to have problems. So remember, not everyone should take the journey with you. Then that third thing that I wanted to remind you about is that not everyone can take the journey with you. Just because a team member may have been a good fit in the beginning doesn't mean they'll automatically stay for the entire trip. This can be a real challenge for leaders, especially when the team has met success and the leader remembers how awesome it was working with that group of people. It becomes hard to face the day when they leave the team and never return. The reality is that sometimes a team or even an organization outgrows some of its team members. And when that happens, if they continue along with them, they become a weight holding that organization or that team down. It's okay for people to leave, but make no mistake about it. Leaders can choose who they lose. The question becomes not so much are people leaving, but who is leaving? See, obviously, when looking at the revolving door, the best thing you can see are people with a lot of potential coming in, while those who have tapped out are going out the door. So remember those three little reminders about those who are along for the ride. Not everyone will take the journey with you. Not everyone should take the journey with you, and not everyone can take the journey with you. The best thing a leader can do is to understand that teammates will leave and to maintain the right perspective on it. It's never fun leaving people behind along the journey, but it's gonna happen. Now, to make things a little easier, I shared a few tips to help others shift their perspective by avoiding some things as well. Here they are again. First of all, remember that nobody is irreplaceable, not even you. Try not to believe that your best team members can never be replaced. See, the truth is they can. There are good people everywhere. But when we lose critical team players as a leader, we might think we'll be left with a hole on the team. If you don't properly prepare for it, it will cause you to panic and your team can suffer. This is why it's so important that we as leaders take the time to develop others. And the more we do that for them, the larger the pool of candidates will be when it comes time to fill that gap. Now, the second tip was not to spend time waiting on people that you shouldn't wait on. No matter how hard you try to develop them, they just don't come around. See, if a leader can't identify those types of people, it's definitely going to have a negative impact on you and your team. You don't want to waste too much time forcing people to get on board, or you're going to risk losing the momentum you've started to build. And then finally, that third tip that I shared that day was to foster an attitude of gratitude and start appreciating the people on your team, no matter how long they stay with you on your journey. Our leadership journeys can be really long, and at certain points along the way, it becomes necessary to bring people on board to help you to be successful. But those points in time can come to an end, and those people will move on. So, my advice to you is to recognize those key players that are only coming alongside you to help you navigate part of the journey and not the whole journey. At the end of the day, be grateful for them that they were there and available to help you get to the next level. So, those were the three tips that I shared that day in hopes it might help others shift their perspective on the team members that they do have. Don't convince yourself that important team members can't be replaced. Don't waste your time waiting on people you shouldn't wait on, and learn to appreciate the people who are there with you, even when it's only for a brief time. Now, I hope those things will be helpful for you because the fact is that those who start the journey with you seldom finish it with you too. So let me wrap this one up in a nice little bow for you. Leaders aren't the owners of their teams, even if they're the owners of the organization. What they really are stewards of their teams. One of the jobs we have as leaders is to find the best people we can, provide opportunities for them to join in the journey with us, and then develop them and encourage them to reach their potential along the way. But at the end of the day, we can't hold on to them too tightly because, as I said earlier, those who start the journey with us seldom finish. All right, so that brings me to the recap of lesson number 24. And I called that episode, Your Success Isn't Just Yours. Now, I loved this lesson because it allowed me to pause and take a little stroll down memory lane. You see, I was fortunate during my Navy career to have led many teams to success, and it taught me a very valuable lesson. And that's what I spoke about during this lesson back in March. The lesson I shared that day was that it takes a lot of people to create success. And when it comes to leadership, I can honestly tell you that not many leaders are successful unless a lot of people want them to be. That's why I say that when it comes to leadership, your success is not just your success. The greatest leaders that history has ever produced, like Julius Caesar, Charlemagne, Lincoln, Churchill, those people did not achieve their success alone. The truth of the matter is that even the greats got help from others. Without a lot of people working together, there wouldn't be any successful leaders. This is one of the reasons why I recognize that we don't get anywhere in life without the help of others. Good leaders recognize that every success comes from the assistance of many people, and they show their gratitude in acknowledgement of that. Leaders who believe they've gotten where they are today by the fruits of their own labor, well, they're sure to have a short run at success. Here's the catch. It isn't as simple as just understanding that we don't achieve anything significant without the help of others. We have to take the time to appreciate and acknowledge others' contributions to our success. If you're a leader who wants to get ahead, you better know what you have behind you. Now, I told people that day that the people who help us achieve success typically come in two forms. They're either mentors or they're supporters. So I started that lesson by talking about the first type, the mentors. And I shared how my life has been full of them. I can easily go back over my major life accomplishments and I can identify the mentors who helped me get to where I wanted to go. I can also tell you who was there supporting my efforts, those who were willing to help me in my efforts to achieve success. They were the cheerleaders who kept cheering me on along the way. I took time to mention a few of them, and these people deserve another shout out. So here they are again. I mentioned a young lieutenant by the name of Jim Bradley back in 1995. He was the main influencer behind my decision to apply for my commission. When I was selected for my commission as an ensign in the Medical Service Corps of the Navy in 1997, Jim was there to conduct my commissioning ceremony. I even went back 10 years from that when I was still in high school, and I told the others about Coach Ken Terry, my cross-country running coach who produced the second fastest runner in the entire county. And he did it through his guidance and his continuous support and belief in me that I could do it. As I matured and grew in my own leadership and played those roles for others, there were some interesting things that I learned along the way, and I want to remind you about them right now. Here are the three things that I came to realize about mentors and supporters. The first thing I realized was that some of them helped me and never even knew it. There are certainly direct impacts you can have on others, but sometimes you can help others without even knowing you're helping them. Not only has that happened to me, but it's happened for me as well. Oh, and I also want to remind you about this point too, which is that mentors can come from anywhere. You don't have to know them personally. One of my all-time favorite mentors is someone I never met, Zig Ziglar. He never knew me, but through his teachings on those cassette tapes, yes, I said cassette tapes, that I listened to all those years ago, he made a lasting impact on me that he never even knew. Now, the second thing I realized was that some people who do know me don't even realize that they've helped me. Now, although I try to show my appreciation to people, sometimes people influence us and they have no idea they're even doing it. The example I shared that day was my first department head when I arrived at Balboa Naval Hospital in San Diego, Jim Fitzpatrick. I observed Jim on a daily basis, how he interacted with his staff and even with the housekeepers who came in each morning to take out the trash. Now, this guy was a true servant leader, and by observing his actions over these years, I was able to adopt some leadership lessons that I was able to add to my own leadership toolbox. Unfortunately, Jim passed away from cancer just a few years after I retired from the Navy. And although I had thanked him many times for his help in developing me as a young officer, I don't think he ever really knew just how much he helped me to grow into the leader I am today. And then the third thing that I realized was that there are plenty of people who not only knew me, but also knew that they had helped me. That's what intentionality is all about. They're the leaders of leaders in my book. Now, on this one, I shared the story of Chief Petty Officer Lori Carey. Lori was what we call in the Navy a sea mama. Now, that's a leader who takes a sailor under their wing like their own child and goes out of their way to help them succeed. Well, that's really what all good leaders do, but Lori did that for me. She helped me prepare the package that ultimately resulted in my selection as the Sailor of the Year for the Bureau of Medicine and Surgery in the Navy. That was back in 1996. And to this day, Lori and I still speak and check in with one another. See, mentors are those people who have gone before us, and then they stop to reach out a hand to pull others along the way. Now, after speaking about the mentors who played a significant role in my success, I brought up an equally important role, and that was the role of supporter. See, the role of a supporter, it's critical. They're the ones who pitch in to help move you forward. They make us better than we are on our own. The fact is, we have to have supporters in order to achieve success. And they come in all different flavors too. Some of them supported me by filling in the gaps that I had. When I wasn't strong in an area, I had supporters who had those gifts that I didn't, and they kindly filled in the gaps for me. And then I had others who saved me time by taking on something that just needed to be done, but I didn't have the time for. They were the true team player. Those are the type of people who understand what you're after and they pitch in to help you achieve it. It's probably different for all of us. Our supporters play different roles for each of us. And I urge you to think into what your supporters are doing for you to help you be successful. Once you know, make sure you show them some love and appreciation. Acknowledge their role in your success. Maybe that's a spouse who's taking on the kids so you have time to record that podcast. Or maybe it's the neighbor who's grabbing your groceries because they're already heading to the store. If you aren't exactly sure yet, all you have to do is take a look around to find the people who are clapping the loudest every time you win. My mentors and supporters are the reason why I've seen success in many areas of my life, anywhere from health to finance to professional, even spirituality. I couldn't be successful without them. The truth is that success compounds when there are others helping us along the way. It's the followers who make leaders possible. A leader who understands this concept can't help but to develop an attitude of gratitude. Now, I shared that lesson with others that day in the Lion's Den to encourage them to think on it more and see how it applies in their own journey. Acknowledging that their success is the result of the collective effort of many is a sure way to reach their full potential. Same with you. You see, one is just too small a number to achieve anything significant in life. I'm living proof, and if you've ever experienced any success in your own life, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Great leaders not only know they need the help from others, but they recognize those who give it. And they make sure to show appreciation for their mentors and their supporters, because without them, they'd be nothing. And that's why I said that our success isn't just our success. It's a collective effort of many, including the mentors and the supporters. You should not only recognize your own, but you should play that role for others as well. All right, that does it for this week's recap of another 2 lessons learned in leadership. We are coming back next week, and I hope you enjoyed this one. But next week, we're going to wrap up the last recap of all these lessons learned, lessons 25 and 26. So if you want to keep running to the roar, Then join me next week as I continue these micro lessons in review. All you have to do is just come on back to the Lion's Den next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for supporting me and watching the Weekly Roar today. I appreciate you. And by the way, before I see you next week, I wish you and your family a safe and enjoyable 4th of July holiday weekend. Be safe, everybody. Until we meet again next Wednesday, remember, be powerful, but stay poised, just like a lion. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching the Weekly Roar live event at lionenterprise.com. If you enjoyed this video, please tell others to join us each week here in the Lion's Den. Thanks again, and see you next week.